Who is the coolest gym leader in Pokemon? To answer this question, I arranged a tournament on my community tab of 81 gym leaders, that way you all could vote for the coolest one in the franchise. In this video, I'll go over the tournament in depth and share some interesting things I noted throughout each round, and of course, definitively answer who the coolest gym leader is. Before getting started, let me know in the comments who you think the coolest gym leader is, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next tournament. Also, big announcement, I have a Discord server. Outside of being another way to connect with you guys, I plan on running events from time to time, starting with a Metronome tournament. So click the link in the description if you want to join. With that said, let's get started. Like I said earlier, the tournament had 81 gym leaders. This of course includes every single gym leader in the main series games, as well as Bede and Marnie, who eventually take over for Opal and Piers, Clara and Avery, who are minor league gym leaders from the Isle of Armor DLC, and the Karate Master from the Saffron Fighting Gym Dojo thing. Lastly, I split up Tate and Liza into two separate entries. In hindsight, I should have kept them together, but let's be honest, they weren't going to win anyways. My reasoning for all these additions lies in the number 81. With 81 entries in total, I was able to create the perfect bracket, with each match consisting of a 1v1v1 matchup. Truth be told, this tournament would have taken much longer if I kept them to 1v1 matches, and I didn't want to drag it out that long. In terms of organizing the bracket, it was completely random. Well, almost. I did randomize all the placements, but I made slight edits to the first round to make sure that no gym leaders from the same region were against each other. In a perfect world, I would have seeded each and every gym leader like you would in an actual tournament, but like I said, I wasn't going to drag it out that long. Alright, that's all the details, so let's jump into the tournament. Round 1 consisted of 27 matches in total. And all things considered, I think everyone who made it through round 1 deserved to do so. In fact, a lot of the round 1 matches turned out to be landslide victories. Drayden, Raihan, Sabrina, Nessa, Blaine, Roxy, Larry, Flannery, and Blue all destroyed their competition, earning a vast majority of the votes. Giovanni had the biggest win in round 1, earning a whopping 78% of the votes. What made this even more impressive was that Bryson was one of his opponents. Many people commented that Bryson had a bad matchup, and while that may be true, I would also say some of his cringy acting held him back as well. The gym leaders Bee, Brawly, Marnie, Volkner, Misty, Piers, Iris, Valerie, Koga, Faulkner, Elisa, Lieutenant Surge, and Jasmine all earned over 50% of the votes for their matches. Of these, there's only 3 I want to take a closer look at, being Piers, Elisa, and Jasmine. First, Piers. As one of the gym leaders I expected to make it towards the end of the tournament, I was quite surprised when I saw him only get 52% of the votes in his match against Winona and Cress. Obviously, I expected Cress to lose because he got 4% of the votes, but Winona earned 43%, coming much closer than I would have expected. At first, I thought there was other motivation behind this, but after reading the comments, it turns out that a lot of people just like Winona. Elisa was matched with Fantina and Iono, and it's clear based on in-game depth that she's the coolest. What really surprised me was that Iono only got 25%. With all the excitement around having a gamer girl streamer as a gym leader, I would have expected her to win. Like I said, I think Elisa is cooler, and I'm glad she beat Iono. I just thought the simps would be stronger. Last, let's look at Jasmine. What blew me away here is that she beat out Crasher Wake. Besides these two being almost polar opposites, I assumed Wake's dominating personality would have given him the win. That being said, Jasmine's dedication to Amphi the Ampharos and the Lighthouse is pretty cool, so I guess I can see her beating out Wake. I just can't get over these two as a pairing. While most of the round had obvious victors, there were a few matches that really came down to the wire. Probably the most intense matchup of round 1 was Morty versus Brock versus Skyla. While I could make a pretty good argument for any one of these gym leaders, Skyla ended up taking the top spot. While I think Skyla has a lot that makes her a cool gym leader, it was apparent through the comments that there was some other motivation, if you catch my drift. I do want to point out one comment where someone said, Morty for the design, Brock for the anime, and Skyla for her job. And you know what? That's a great take. The match between Grusha, Erica, and Candace went quite similarly, with Grusha narrowly beating out Erica for the top spot. I don't have too much to say about this match, outside of my love for the people in the comments admitting that Grusha made them question their sexuality, because that's valid. And lastly, Melony just barely went out against Gardenia. Personally, I don't have a preference between the two, but it was very apparent that some of you did. While a few people made the joke of, well, she's an ice type gym leader, so of course she's the coolest, a lot of you went the more degenerate route. While I could call out the mommy comments, all I want to say is, when I look up Gardenia Pokémon on Google Images, it's all pretty normal. When I look up Melony Pokémon, I get a reminder that safe search blurring is on. So now that I've gone over round 1, there's something eye-opening I want to touch on. In terms of gym leaders, not all regions are built the same. Kanto, Unova, and Galar dominated round 1, making up 18 of the 27. Kanto in particular had the most with 7. In fact, the only Kanto gym leaders to not make it past round 1 were Brock, Erica, and Janine, 2 of which I mentioned in the really close matches, and the other being Janine. Hoenn and Kalos lost out big time, only having 1 gym leader win. This makes a lot of sense though. Whenever I think about Gens 3 or 6, it takes a while before I start thinking of the gym leaders specifically. Otherwise, Johto had 3 and Sinnoh and Paldea both had 2. It's an inconsistent graph to say the least, which is part of the reason I wanted to show it off. But with that done, now let's look at the 9 matches from round 2. First up was Drayden versus Raihan versus B. Much to my surprise, Drayden pulled out the victory with 56% of the votes. I'm not necessarily shocked Drayden won, but I expected Raihan to do much better. But I guess when you're the Spartan mayor who trained a cool champion with the best facial hair in the franchise, yeah, you're pretty damn cool. Also, amongst all the Daddy Drayden comments I saw, I need to highlight this comment from Diverse Curse that says, Drayden's closet must be bipolar the way it throws fits. Match 2 was Brawly versus Sabrina versus Melony. And while I was very worried Melony would win again for reasons other than being the coolest, Sabrina had a runaway victory with 65% of the votes. As she should, because she's a straight up badass. I would say sorry to Melony for losing, but I'm more sorry for people going off the deep end with her design. Y'all need therapy. Match 3 was Nessa versus Blaine versus Marnie. In quite the upset, Nessa pulled out the victory with 48% of the votes. People weren't necessarily mad that she won, but that Blaine lost. And truthfully, I'd have to agree. Blaine has time on his side, and he's rich with so much lore that it's just sad to see him lose. But at the end of the day, water is super effective against fire. Match 4 was Volkner versus Misty versus Piers. And it's basically a repeat of last match where the water gym leader wins with 48% of the votes. While I love Minato, I'm not bothered by him losing. What does bother me is that Piers came in last place. I know Misty has a lot going for her, as she's one of the most fleshed out gym leaders in the whole franchise, but this man deserved better. Between being a punk rocker, a great big brother to Marnie, and being the only dark gym leader, my heart broke when he lost. He's definitely the coolest in my book. Match 5 was Giovanni versus Iris versus Roxy. I'll keep it simple. Roxy is pretty awesome, and Iris is a great character, but Giovanni has way too much swag to be taken out by these two, which is why he won with 61% of the votes. I'm not gonna lie though, I was definitely salty after Blaine and Piers lost, so this comment might have influenced things. Probably not though. Match 6 was Valerie versus Skyla versus Claire. Out of these 3 late game ladies, Skyla came out on top with 49%. I don't have much to say. Valerie has a great design, but she's not fleshed out enough compared to the others. Claire has a great typing, but is salty as hell when you beat her. She doesn't even give you the badge until she's basically forced to. With Skyla, she's just all around a great gym leader. Match 7 was Koga versus Larry versus Flannery. And now I need to address the elephant in the room. Larry. I've been waiting to talk about him because what do I even say? Anybody a part of the Pokemon community knows how popular he is. And whether you think he's the coolest gym leader to date or he's super overrated, the fact of the matter is, he won this match with 55% of the votes. Now, I don't have anything negative to say about the man, but I am really disappointed that his win means Koga loses. I'm a huge Naruto fan, as is evident by it being the topic of my first video, and I recognize that bias towards the ninja gym leader. But let me say it this way. This man is a f***ing ninja who went on to be an Elite Four member. Hashtag justice for Koga. The penultimate match of round 2 was Faulkner versus Elisa versus Grusha. And I'll make this one quick. Elisa won, by the biggest margin of anyone in round 2. Not that that's surprising. Grusha's chill and Faulkner is okay, I guess. But Elisa is an example of what all gym leaders should strive to be. Last match for round 2 was Lieutenant Surge versus Blue versus Jasmine. And being the most fleshed out character of the three, Blue won pretty easily. While he may not be everyone's favorite, there's no denying that Blue is quite literally legendary. The semifinals only consist of 3 matches, the first of which being Drayden versus Sabrina versus Nessa. While much more of a competition than his previous matches, Drayden won pretty handily with 47% of the votes. While Sabrina may have taken the win if it was the best gym leader tournament, or Nessa if it was the hottest gym leader tournament, in terms of coolness, Drayden earns the win. The second semifinal match was Misty versus Giovanni versus Skyla. And as he did in the last 2 rounds, Giovanni dominated this match, with 64% of the votes. Even all these years later, you can't beat the reveal of the final gym leader being the main antagonist. Also, if you'll give me one moment. Yeah, you, Misty, that's what you get for eliminating peers, you. Okay, I'm good. Last semifinal match, we have Larry versus Elisa versus Blue. And as a lot of you probably expected, it was Larry who came out on top with 45% of the votes. While it is sad to see these two go, Larry is a meme, so, enough said. In all seriousness, I think now is a good moment to talk about why Larry is so popular. To rehash what a lot of people said in the comments, Larry is just relatable. In a franchise where almost every character is either larger than life or so far removed from the real world, Larry, like a lot of us, is just a regular guy who likes Pokémon. I definitely don't love him as much as a lot of people do, but I can easily see that he's a really well-written gym leader, especially considering we just met him in Gen 9. Oh, and I guess someone said something about Larry being a current Tumblr sexy man, but after the Melony searches, I think I'm good on that kind of rabbit hole. And for the final match of the tournament, we have the dedicated mayor and dripped out daddy, Drayden, the evil and twisted antagonistic mafia boss, Giovanni, and Larry. It's really funny that of all the gym leaders in the franchise, the question of the coolest one came down to 3 men in suits. Super cool men nonetheless, but it's still just a couple guys in suits. So, who is the coolest gym leader in Pokémon? While earning 46% of the votes, it's Giovanni. It says so much about the fan base that the gym leader voted coolest is the most unethical and dangerous one of all. But hey, at the end of the day,
he was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Oh, and for those wondering, I did run an extra poll with Giovanni and Larry since technically Giovanni didn't get a majority of the votes and he still won. And I'm glad he did, because having the winner be Larry is a little too obvious, don't you think? Truth be told, my mans wouldn't even want to win. He'd probably just ask for a vacation. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed and let me know what tournament you would want next. As just one person trying to keep this channel going strong, tournaments on the community tab are a really fun way for me to interact with y'all on a more consistent basis. So expect plenty more in the future. But for now, as thanks for making it to the end of the video, here's a picture of my dog. Talk to y'all soon.
Don't forget to join the Discord.